So today's episode is all about why you can never force a seller to take your price and what to do instead. But before I jump in today's episode, if you are looking to create a wholesale business that throws off cash month after month after month, that is extremely profitable, that's going to get you off the hamster wheel, that's going to run without your day-to-day involvement, you got to head over to nextlevelwholesaling.com. And there, I've got a special gift for you. It's called the Next Level Wholesaling Assessment, and it's going to rate you in the 4 core areas of your wholesaling business. This is marketing, acquisition, disposition, and accounting. And if you've ever wondered why you are not as profitable as you want to be, or why you seem like you can't get ahead, or if you're always like thinking like, man, I wish I had more money in the bank and I should have more. Okay, once you take this thing, I'm telling you, your eyes are going to open. My mentor actually created it for me when I felt like I was in the hamster wheel, and within a few months, I had a very, 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 very profitable business, and I cut my working hours by about 90%. So go to nextlevelwholesaling.com, take it. It's totally for free, completely confidential. As a matter of fact, it's offline, not online. And so I know that you're going to love it. So go to nextlevelwholesaling.com and take that assessment today. All right, so let's talk about why you can never force a seller to take your price or your cash offer. So I recently had someone who basically wanted a joint venture with me on a deal. It was a small mobile home park. And he called me and said, I've got this seller and, it's a good deal. And he's really, really, really motivated, but he just won't take my price. So how can I force him to take my price? Or, I didn't mean to say that. He says, get him to take my price. I go, well, that was a little bit of a Freudian slip, right? You're basically saying, how can you basically force him to take your price? And I've been in this business for, since 2002. So that would put, at the time of this recording, about 22 years. And I've never done a deal with someone who A, did not want to sell, and B, someone who was not willing to sell at a mutually agreed upon price. And I know it's frustrating when you've been, mailing letters, or you're paying for internet leads, or maybe cash is a little bit tight, and all of a sudden you talk to a seller who seems like they should take your deal, but for whatever reason they're not, right? You feel kind of trapped. And so you're thinking, man, this guy or girl, this man or lady needs to take this offer. Like, why aren't they hearing me? And so the good thing is, here's the good part, is that you understand that you need to make a big, fat, juicy profit, right? You don't want to lock up marginal deals. But the reason why we make so much money, or you should be making so much money in this business, is because you are offering value. And if you don't offer value, well, then you're not going to get paid. And fortunately or unfortunately, the value is in the eye of the person who you're bringing the value to, right? So if you're meeting with a seller and they don't see that you're bringing enough value to justify discounting the price of their real estate problem, okay, they're not going to sell to you at that price. I don't know about you, but I can tell you that my most successful joint venture partners and myself, I've done over 1,400 deals, okay, approximately. Every single one of them, okay, knew that in some way they were giving some equity up in exchange for speed and convenience. Okay, so I want to let you know there's no way that you can force it. It's going to be on the seller's timing. But I did write down some notes here for this episode, and I want to give you how to change your mindset a little bit. Okay, so the first thing that I remember from this deal was that the seller kept on telling this wholesaler that they had another offer on the mobile home park, right? And what you can do at that point, the worst thing that you can do is say, okay, I'll come up, I'll match it. I'll pay whatever they're paying, because that's the worst thing that you could ever do, right? It's going to blow all your credibility with the seller. And so the good thing, or what I would do here in this case, and saying, that's really, really great. If you've got a better offer than mine, I wish I could come up, but I wish you the best. Why don't you go ahead and take that? Now, one of two things is going to happen. If you are being reasonable in your asking price, your offering price, right? You want to make a profit, but pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. is this is fictitious, and I can tell you that 95% of the time when someone has another offer, it's fictitious. Is the person who's offering is overpaying. So one of two things is happening. Number one, either that offer is not real, and so when it comes push to shove, they're actually not going to get that contract signed. Or two, they're going to sign that contract and it's going to fall out of closing or escrow, right? Or three, it's completely imaginary. And so you have to have the risk of any one of those three happening. Because if it's fake, here's the great part. Now the seller's motivation grows, right? You are offering more value. You are being a beacon of consistency in the seller's life, because now their emotion or expectations go from, let's say, a level 10. And now when that thing falls out or they don't get that offer, now their expectation goes down to a 3. The great part is, if I can't come to terms on this, I would build rapport with the seller at that point, right? Just be a friend and kind of consult with them, right? And be like, I totally get it. If you have any questions, give me a call. I know a name of some good closing companies in town. I hope it closes for you. Okay. Number 3, though, is you always want to build pain. So we are in the customer service business in terms of relieving pain. Okay. A seller is not my client. My job is to relieve them of this albatross. That's it. And so if I have to allow the seller to cause themselves pain so that they can move on for the property, I have no problem with that, right? I don't cause the seller pain, but the seller will cause themselves pain and be reminded of the situation. So what I like to do, again, is remind the seller of past, present, and future pain. So in this case, we talked about this mobile home park, and the JV partner who I was working with went back and said, hey, tell me a little bit about what's gone on here the past 12 to 24 months. Okay, we found out that the seller had bought the property to turn around, and needless to say, got sick and didn't put any of the effort into doing so. And he had blown a ton of money, probably in the excess of 50 grand, trying to keep this mobile home park afloat. That was past. The present pain was that this mobile home park basically was 80% vacant, which is a rough go. Okay, and so we also focus on that. Okay, so what does the present cash flow situation look like? Is there a loan? What's the loan payment? How much time is it taking? Do you enjoy this? Right? How do you anticipate you're going to handle this the next month? And the future pain is, okay, great. Let's pretend like we don't do business. Right? 6 months from now, what does your life look like if nothing changes? And so you're building that pain. You've moved away from price, and now you're focusing on the pain. Because if you can't budge them on price, then you go back to creating that motivation, right? Because the motivation has to come from within. Write all this stuff down, keep notes, because sometimes the seller will be like, I'm fine. I'm going to hold on to the property. Everything is great. Fine. It's okay to hear no, right? But when I hear no, remember, that is really not yet. Okay, no equals not yet. Remember, you're never going to force a seller to take your cash offer, right? They have to do it in their own time. The only thing that you can do is help them see, right, their pain. And then 2, you better be there when all of a sudden they're at their breaking point. Okay, you need to be there, which leads me to number 4, and that is follow up relentlessly. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of wholesalers who call once or twice and they don't follow up. And then somebody else gets this big, fat, juicy, giant deal, and it is taken right from underneath their nose because someone was disorganized, or they didn't follow up, or they didn't have a system. And it sucks to lose a deal. So make sure that you are following up consistently. Make sure you're using a CRM. Make sure you have a routine of calling sellers back. Make sure that you call a seller back until they sell you their property or they die, and then their heirs can sell you the property. Do not stop following up unless they tell you to stop calling them. That's it, period. Number 5. This is a big one. It depends on the seller's personality here, but when the seller does have motivation, you want to let them win. What does that mean? Well, number 1 is if you have to come up a little token on price, and I'm talking a tiny bit, right? If the seller fought you, sometimes they're too embarrassed to be like, hey, I'll come down to your price. Like in this instance, if you had to come up, 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, depending on the margin, that is okay, right? Don't be stubborn, right? You want to make a big, fat, juicy deal here. right? But remember, pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. So you can actually give a little bit so that the seller can, quote unquote, win, right? Or if you can't do that, if you don't have room in the deal and you are going to be making a decent profit, at the very least, be like, oh, I wish I could have paid what you were asking, right? But just I can't. I'm not that good, right? I'm not that good. I just don't have the ability to make money there, and just kind of take the blame, right? And be like, I wish I could buy every house for the price that you were asking. You're just a really, really tough negotiator, and let them know what a good negotiator they are, because in that way you will make them feel good. And again, you're offering some value. But the biggest part is let time do your negotiating. You're never going to force a seller to do business with you. I can't tell you how many messages that say, how can I get a seller to take my offer? Time will handle this. And I got to tell you that the relentless follow-up, the building of the rapport, the fact that you've been really, really consistent, but also you're setting a standard for yourself on what you will take in terms of a price. Sometimes you lose the deal, but a lot of times you'll get it, right? And so how many $50,000 deals do you need to be making $100K a month? Just 2. That's 24 deals a year. That is phenomenal. All right. So remember, don't believe the whole I have another offer scenario. Let time do your negotiating there. Build a lot of rapport. Let the seller build their own pain from within. You want to follow up relentlessly. Let the seller win. Sometimes you can come up and price them as long as your margin is good enough. Remind them that they're a phenomenal negotiator if they're like a dominant negotiator and they feel like they've got to win. And then also let time do negotiating. It's okay to do a deal 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now. Obviously, you want to compress that timeline as much as you can, but also let time do the negotiating. Be there when it's time for the seller to sell at the right price. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. Don't forget to head on over to our website, nextlevelwholesaling.com, and I will talk to you on the next episode.